And now we're going to look back to weekend soccer with John Giles and Liam Brady. And as always in the Premier League, it seems, it was a fascinating weekend. Maybe we should begin, John, with Spurs and Jose Mourinho's return to coaching. A very convincing performance. The scoreline 3-2 for Spurs suggests it was close, but it really wasn't, was it?
No, they played well. Spurs could have had it over before the end. Slipped up a little bit near the end, as we know. But overall, I'd say for his first match, particularly for him, it was very, very satisfactory, Eamon.
Yeah, he made an interesting team selection, I thought. He played Moura, Ali and Son behind Harry Kane. And Dele Alli in particular has had a pretty average 2 years for a player that so much was expected from. He was the man of the match on this occasion, and even before the game, Mourinho had made a big deal out of him, and he responded.
Well, he did. He wasn't very complimentary to him, and maybe that's what he needed to kick up the backside.
Yeah.
I believe during the week, what I read anyway, when he was talking to him on the training pitch, he said, is it you or your brother who's going to be playing now?
Right.
Suggesting, what have you been doing for the last year?
Yeah.
Is that your brother that was out there on the pitch? So I saw Dele Alli's face. He wasn't too pleased with it, Eamon, but maybe it's what he needed. He played well. As we know, he's got terrific talent. He hasn't been doing it for at least 12 months.
Yeah.
So maybe Mourinho is the man to get the best out of him at this particular time.
And of course, Liam, if you're, as a coach, going to make your debut anywhere away from home, you'd choose West Ham, wouldn't you?
Well, at the moment, I almost certainly, Eamon. Yeah, the goalkeeper's having a terrible time. They're missing Fabianski big time.
Yes.
And they're leaking goals left, right, and centre. So, for Mourinho, it's the right team to play, no doubt about that. I think there'll be much tougher assignments out there, but he's got a lot of good players in that squad. Everybody knows that. They have underperformed. I do think the uncertainty surrounding some of the players, whether they're going to be there next season, has hit them hard. And it's been difficult for Pochettino in that respect. And it'll also be difficult for Mourinho to sort all those problems out.
Yeah, now I have a feeling, Liam, that, and I'm going to put this to John in a minute, I've had a feeling since he was at United, and even with his last season at Chelsea, where it all fell apart, that Mourinho had lost the plot. He was yesterday's man, and I couldn't see where he could go from here. Maybe Spurs is the right place. They hadn't won away from home since January. They've got off to a good start, and as you say, he's got a lot of good players there. Do you still think he has the Mourinho magic?
Well, he didn't fit Manchester United. I said that from the very start.
Yes.
The traditions of that club, the football, the way they want to play the football, just didn't fit Jose Mourinho. And he started by bringing back Pogba after Pogba. Ferguson had allowed that to happen. Now, Fergie doesn't make mistakes that many times, and I think he realised that Pogba wasn't the character that you want around the team.
Yeah.
But Mourinho kind of stuck two fingers, as did Ed Woodward, up to Ferguson, and they brought him back for a huge amount of money. And I think that backfired on him. I think they fell out pretty quickly. And he really lost the dressing room. After the first year, you could see that the players weren't playing for him.
Yeah.
I don't think he's got the same kind of pressure at Spurs. I think he was to bring Spurs the same things that he brought to Manchester United in his first year, i.e. the League Cup and the Europa League. Spurs would be well pleased. They haven't won a trophy in over 20 years, I think it is. So I think the pressure is less at Spurs, and it might be a fit that suits him. So I wouldn't write him off, Eamon. I think he'll certainly tighten up that Spurs defence, which needs it. And I can see Tottenham pushing for a top 4th place before the end of the season with the players they've got.
Yeah, John, Jose Mourinho's record, he does win a lot of trophies, and even at Manchester United, where it all went very sour, he brought them something. Do you lose it?
No.
You don't?
No, it's circumstances that in which you take over the club.
Yes.
At Manchester United, I don't think it was. I know we've spoken about this before. I don't think it was his decision to bring Pogba in. I think this was Westwood.
Ed Woodward.
Woodward's decision to do that. I think he needed a big signing. I think he asked Mourinho. I think for Mourinho to get the job to go along with him and Pogba.
Yeah.
Because in the European Championships at that time. When he did come to Old Trafford, Mourinho said he's the complete midfield player. Now, Mourinho knows the game, Eamon. I think he sold his soul to get the job at Old Trafford for that, and then it kicked him in the face because Pogba wasn't a complete midfield player and he fell out with him. I think that was the start of all the big trouble at Old Trafford. And that can happen with managers, Eamon.
Yeah.
You know, it can be great managers, you go into the wrong place at the wrong time. And I think Old Trafford was the wrong place for him. It was a bad decision by the club to employ him. Now, going into Spurs, what I don't understand there is that Pochettino had brought them to a certain position, and the reason they didn't go any further and not win things is because the chairman didn't back him.
Yeah.
Now, the point coming into the situation now, is the chairman going to back Mourinho? Because this is what Mourinho has always insisted on in clubs that he went to, that he'd have the players in that he wanted and got rid of the players that he didn't want. Is he going to have that power? He didn't give it to Pochettino, and I think Pochettino's been very, very badly treated in this particular way. He's brought Spurs to where they were and got help to build a new stadium. I think he should have been backed and let him continue the job. So I think he's taken a gamble on that. I think Mourinho is still a top manager, Eamon. If the conditions are right, like any manager going into a club, sometimes the conditions are impossible. I think as they were at Old Trafford, I think the conditions are very, very difficult here. So I think he was desperate for the job at Spurs as well. Eamon, I know I'm going the long-winded way around it, but is he going to get the things that he's always had at clubs that he's been successful? Is Levy going to give him the resources to do what needs to be done? Don't forget, there's still 3 or 4 players out of contract at the moment. Yes. He's got to handle that. So how is that going to plan out?
Yeah.
So it's still a difficult job for him.
Okay, I've got the quote you referred to, by the way. In training on Thursday, Jose Mourinho had asked Ali if he was Dele or his brother Ali. So he got the right answer because Dele Ali played really well against West Ham. Liam, Arsenal. On Saturday, they managed to scrape a draw. Lacazette with a late goal against Southampton, and by all accounts, I just saw the highlights of the game. They were lucky to get out of jail again, and the crowd seemed very, very restless with Emery, the coach.
Oh yeah, I think if you're asking a poll of Arsenal fans whether they want to, keep Emery or not, there'd be a huge vote in favour of letting him go and getting a new manager. What we're watching is a manager that's really lost his way. He starts off with one formation. At halftime, it becomes a different one. We've been playing a back 4, started with a back 3. On Saturday, and the team was all over the place. I think it would be best if they changed. I think you need to get somebody in who's just going to get a grip of those players and sort them out in some kind of formation and stick to it and give them some consistency and how the coach wants to play. But he's just chopping and changing everything. It's been really poor to watch. Southampton should have won the game. They missed so many chances, particularly in the second half. Louise was terrible again. Socrates at the back was awful. In the midfield, Guendouzi was running around like a headless chicken.
Yeah.
They really were all over the place. You'll have to say that on the attack, they still look all right,
Yes.
Tierney was very good. He played left wing back, left back. He was getting down the line, getting crosses in. The two lads up front will score goals, Lacazette and Aubameyang. Ozil was poor again. He made a couple of decent passes in the first half, but just drifted out of the game as the game went on. He was very, very poor. And the coach, remember, had bombed him out completely like a month ago. He wasn't even in the squads that were lining up. He wasn't in the 18 players, and now he's back at the centre of the team, and it really tells you that the coach doesn't really know what's going on.
And the other indication of that, Liam, he made Xhaka club captain, and I think all three of us know, and everyone else knows, that he's a volatile character and not really a leader, is he?
No, he's not a disciplined player at all, Eamon. He gets yellow cards for doing stupid things, cynical fouls, arguing with the referee. He gives penalties away in his box. He lets people run off him. You can't have a captain that has that in his, that in his makeup. So that was a bad decision in the first place. But there's very few leaders at that club at the moment. I mean, the team is all over the place. It really is.
Yeah.
And that's why you need a coach to come in and is going to have a way of playing and put that over to the players and make sure the players go along with him. And you need a man of personality. I don't think this guy has it. So I'd be, if you ask me as an Arsenal supporter what to vote for, I'd vote for let's get him out and maybe get Pochettino in if that was possible.
You get a right reception there, John. They look like a lost cause, Arsenal, don't they? I mean, this guy Emery has, and it should be remembered, an outstanding record with Sevilla. Won the Europa League, I think, 3 times. He went to PSG, did okay there. But maybe there's something in the club, and again, it always comes down to players, particularly, John, defenders with Arsenal at the moment.
Well, again, Emery, it depends what you're taking over as manager. That has a lot to do with it. And then if it's bad, you have to put it right. And obviously, he's not in a situation where he's putting it right. So he's in. In other words, what I'm saying, you can go to clubs where it absolutely suits the manager, and other clubs where it doesn't suit him. And obviously, Arsenal hasn't been the leader, Eamon. What he's done with Xhaka and all that, as Liam said there, has been no good. So I think he'll go. I mean, he's had enough time, I think, to do what needed to be done and not making any progress. I think he'll go. And I think Liam was half joking there and saying, well, what about going for Pochettino? Why not?
Yeah, I think just the trip across North London might be. It's a difficult trip.
Eamon, on the positive side of things, from an Irish point of view, the kid Obafemi played up front.
I was going to ask you about that, Liam. Yeah,
he was very, very good. He was very, very good. He's very, very sharp. He gave all 3 of the Arsenal centre backs. They played 3 centre backs. He gave them all a problem with his pace, and he was direct, and he linked up play very well. It was really good to see, because we are missing those players in that Irish setup. So it was really encouraging to see him play so well in the Premier League. It's
hard to understand, Liam, how Mick McCarthy didn't have him in the squad for the Denmark game. He's a good player.
He's been injured, and he's just been in and out of Southampton, playing a few minutes here and there.
Right.
But I think the coach at Southampton decided to give him his big chance now at the Emirates, and he really did play well. So he has to come into contention come March time for the two matches. So let's hopefully it's 2 that we need to win to qualify.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Arsenal were terrible. Arsenal were terrible, and as John said, it needs to change.
Okay, John, Manchester City, Chelsea. I thought it was a very, very good game. Chelsea, I think, are a good side. In the end, City won 2-1. For the first time since Guardiola took over, Chelsea had more possession than Manchester City in the game, which is an incredible statistic when when you're used to seeing them dominate teams so much. I think the shine is going off City a little bit at the back and in general. But you were...
You never thought shine at the back, Eamon, for City.
No, they didn't. But when we're talking during the match, which we kind of watched it together and we're talking to each other, you thought City were okay, impressive?
Well, no, I've seen them play better, Eamon. I thought Chelsea were very impressive.
They were, yeah.
No, they played well. They got some young players. They look good. The thing is that they might not have the experience, and along with the experienced players, Eamon, as we know, like our pal little Conte and William, and they've got some good players coming in. So they were making of a good team, Chelsea. They didn't maintain it. They allowed City to come back into it. So you give City credit for that. They did actually win the game in the end. And the longer the game went on, the less well they played Chelsea, if that's the right word, Simon. So it's very, very promising for Lampard. He's not there yet. You might need a couple of defenders, but I think that the signs are good. He had him playing well. City didn't respond early on, but to be fair to Chelsea, they kept the ball and kept it well, which is unlike teams against Manchester City. But City did enough in the end to win it, Eamon.
Yeah.
It was tough for them, but they did come through in the end.
Liam, since Frank Lampard's been at Chelsea now, of course he has. They're under a transfer ban at the moment, which they're appealing. But he has given chances to Mason Mount, to Abraham, and they have rewarded him. And the young lad Pulisic as well, an American. He's not afraid to play young players, and they have a great shape and a really good attitude.
Yeah, I think they're a team that's on the up, Eamon. They're only going to get better. Those young lads, when they have more experience, are only going to get better. And they've got good pros around them, as John said there. Kante is a great player to have around them. It's a great example of how much enthusiasm he has for the game. So I think they're a team that's on the up. It won't be this year that they'll be challenging for the league, but it could possibly be next year. And I think that transfer ban will go, and they will have money to spend, and he can maybe tell Abramovich where he needs to strengthen, and I think he will be back to do that. So I think Chelsea is a team on the up. I thought they played great the first 20 minutes, and I thought City got that lucky break with the deflection for De Bruyne, and that changed the game. You know, goals change games,
of course.
That gave City the confidence to go on and win the match.
Now, you'd know a lot about this, Liam, from your time in charge of youth development at Arsenal. Chelsea have had up to 20 young players out on loan over the years in the recent past. They've had a lot of experienced players in the team. And these young guys, they haven't really had a chance. A lot of them, Batshuayi, for example, Abraham as well. He was out at loan at Swansea. Mason Mount was out at loan at Derby County. The thing about the situation Frank Lampard is in with the transfer ban is he's got a chance to play these guys now. And sometimes there's a blockage, isn't there, for young players when they cannot break through, particularly at the top clubs. And it's important that he uses this to see if these guys are good enough. And they're showing that they are good enough.
Oh, for sure, Eamon. But that's the only way you can get them experience. You know, they're not going to get into the team now when they're 17 and 18. That was maybe possible 20 years ago. I think there's very, very few kids at that age get the chance to play at the very highest level of the Premier League. So they're going to need the experience of going on loan, playing maybe Championship. They can also go, some of them can go to the Premiership. But Abraham's probably had, I remember him being at Bristol City scoring goals. He went to Swansea, I think it is, yeah. Then he had a spell there. Then he had a spell last season at Aston Villa. And he's gaining really invaluable experience. So I think that's the only way clubs can do it. But you can make mistakes doing that. Remember, De Bruyne was a Chelsea player. Yes. He was allowed to go on loan, and then he was allowed to be sold. And they'd love to have that player in their team at the moment. But the transfer ban has worked in the favour of Lampard. I think the pressure's off this season, Eamon, and he's been able to give these kids a chance, and everybody's behind him.
Yeah, John, you made your debut for United, I think, when you were 18, maybe 17, but 18 anyway. With the big clubs now and the pressure that's on the coaches, there can be a blockage there, can't there? When you're ready for it to make your debut, but you can't get in. You're playing Mickey Mouse football just at the time when you need to develop as a player and take on the bigger challenges. It's a problem, isn't it, with the pressure coaches are under?
Well, I think particularly Chelsea, Eamon.
Yes.
I think Chelsea made a business of doing it.
Yep.
To be honest.
Yep.
You know, they got a lot of outstanding young players, 20 of them, as you say, out on loan. I mean, they weren't going to be able to play the 20, and they were a club, especially under Mourinho, that had to have success straight away.
Yes.
So they couldn't get into the team, but I think they made a business of it also to loan out these players, and somewhere along the way, somebody's going to pay 5 million, 10 million for those players. It's like the lad that went to Aka went to Brighton, Eamon.
Yeah.
He was a good player. Then he came back to Chelsea, and then he went back again. So they'd loads of young players like Abraham and Mount.
Yes.
They had to loan out. So I think they were doing themselves a disfavour in the end, if that's the right word. In other words, Mount and Abraham could have been in the team if they were pursuing a different policy over the last 2 or 3 years. Because I think we all know as being ex-players, Eamon, when you get to 18, 19, I think if you have the ability, that's the time to get your chance.
Yes.
I think if you go past 20, 21, 22, as happened to some of the Chelsea players, I think they lose interest, they don't have the incentive to do it, or whatever it might be. So I think in many ways it's been bad for Chelsea, maybe good financially for Chelsea, but bad for actually broadening the young players. Whereas this year, as we said, and Liam said, the transfer thing is down for them. They can't do it. So now they have to play the players, and it's proven to be the right way. So I think the transfer system at the moment for Chelsea, where they can't buy players, could actually be a plus for them, Eamon.
Yeah, Liam.
Bringing these young players and giving them the experience.
Liam, how old were you when you made your debut for Arsenal?
17.
Now, can you imagine in the modern game a situation where Liam Brady's 17, he's good enough to get in the team, he will have to go on a learning curve, but you won't be able to do it, Liam, or you wouldn't have been able to do it in certain circumstances, and that would have been a major setback.
Yeah, but the only solution to it, Eamon, is to go on loan,
Yes, I agree with it, yeah.
In those days, the pressure wasn't on the managers like it is nowadays,
Yeah.
And, there was no top 4 to get into the Champions League and things like that. So probably, halfway through the season, the manager knew that he wasn't going to challenge for the trophies and things like that. And that's when you start the blood youngsters and give them a chance. That's the way it was when I got my chance. Arsenal were in the bottom half of the first division then,
Yes.
Times have changed completely, and the only way you're going to get experience into these young players is to let them go on loan. And it's not a bad way to do things, Eamon, especially if they go and they're playing in the first team, like Abraham's has been over the last few seasons.
Yes.
I'd say Abraham's has 100 championship games under his belt, you know, so and scoring lots of goals. So I think that's the only way the big clubs can do it.
Okay, I'm coming to something now that is very much linked to what we've been talking about. John, Manchester United yesterday at Sheffield, I thought for 75 minutes Sheffield had a better attitude, they were better organised, they deserved to be 2-0 up, and when you think that 9 of the starting players for Sheffield United yesterday were in their championship team, and 5 of them had played in League One. So this fella, Chris Wilder's done a really brilliant job. And they dominated that game, but there was a turnaround, and the turnaround came with a goal from this young lad, Williams, who came on for United. It's one of the best goals I've seen for a very, very long time. But the players who shone for United, in the end, they went 3-2 up before they gave the last goal away, were young players. This lad, James, they bought from Swansea. Williams, who's come through. Greenwood, who also came on and scored, and Marcus Rashford, who got their third goal. So if there's any hope for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, or any credit to be given to him, he hasn't been afraid to play these players, to give them game time. He started Williams yesterday, and that's to his credit, isn't it?
Well, that's the sunny way of looking at it, I would say.
Well, okay. Now, tell me what you think. It's more important. You're the guest. What do you think?
Well, it wasn't the right thing for 75 minutes.
No.
I think you've got to look at the situation as to Manchester United, as to why they have to have these young players in the team, Eamon.
Yeah.
You know, like, these are young players, and they're obviously promising, very promising players. But the game could have been over before they scored the first goal. You know, if you take the match overall, you can look at it two ways. If you want to be optimistic, you say that was a great result for Manchester United, getting back into the game, having been 2 down.
Yeah.
But it could have been 3 or 4 down. The game could have been over. So they only played for the last 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, you look at the Sheffield United team in terms of talent. They wouldn't be in the same class, but because of the attitude and definitely through the manager, the attitude from the start, they outplayed the Manchester United team, who definitely had more skillful players in the team, despite the fact that they were young lads. So I wouldn't look at that in such a positive way, Eamon. I thought it was a bad day for Manchester United, and did well in the last 50 minutes to come back into it and maybe win the game, but they didn't deserve it over the 90 minutes. That's for sure.
No.
The young players did do well.
Yeah.
They did do well as when they came on.
Yeah, I was looking for a straw to clutch onto for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Well, maybe he doesn't need a straw, Eamon. Maybe he needs Pochettino in the club. I know we were joking about it a little bit early on, but I would go for Pochettino tomorrow.
Yeah.
Today or this morning, and get him in there. I can't see Manchester United going in any higher than they're going with Solskjaer.
Now, Liam, I'd like to hear your opinion, which I'm sure will be more like John's than mine. There was something very significant happened in the stand yesterday. It's on the internet. There is a picture as well in the Daily Mail of Ed Woodward and Alex Ferguson and David Gill, who used to be the Ed Woodward in Ferguson's time. He used to be the chief executive. There was what looked like a heated and not too friendly exchange between Ferguson and Woodward. The point I'm making, I suppose, is that Woodward's tenure there is producing lots of money through the marketing system, but the team is a bit of a mess.
Yeah, well, you couldn't possibly say he's done a good job. You know,
No.
he's been handling transfers and negotiations with players and so forth, and
the Pogba deal.
And you know, what was the story about how much Fred cost from
60 million
from a Russian team
when they were looking for 25. Yeah.
Well, things like that have come out, you know. So, but on the exchange between them yesterday, there's also pictures on I was looking at. There's also pictures there where they're smiling at one another and they're having a laugh. So you don't really know what went on there.
Okay.
But, I would say Fergie's firmly in Solskjaer's corner, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe Woodward is thinking, well, should I wait and should I hang on? It's a difficult one, isn't it? You know, as John says, if it was him, if he was sat in the position as Ed Woodward is, he would go for Pochettino straight away, you know. So it's a difficult one. I do think that the only thing he can be proud of, Solskjaer, so far, is that he has blooded a lot of young lads and they look talented, a bit like Chelsea. But the team is all over the place as well. They're conceding goals left, right, and centre. You know, they've conceded 15 goals. They're a bit like Arsenal. Arsenal have conceded 19, you know.
Yeah.
And they still got the likes of Lindelof playing.
Yeah.
He's a bit like Luiz or Socrates in the Arsenal defences.
Phil Jones.
Still make mistakes.
Phil Jones looked really...
Came in, he came back because they had an injury in that position and he didn't play very, very well either. So I think there's major changes has to happen in that team. But on the plus side, on the positive side, there's a lot of good kids coming along.
Yeah. Now, I want to turn to Liverpool. John, a lot of people beginning to say they're lucky because they keep winning. Yeah. I know it's rubbish, but we have to deal with it. They've won 2-1. They keep getting the late winners, late equalisers, late winners. I don't think they're lucky. I think they just have so many outstanding players. But at Crystal Palace at the weekend, you could argue, or Palace fans and Roy Hodgson would argue, they were a little bit unlucky not to get a point out of the game. Are Liverpool lucky, John?
I didn't see the game, Eamon. But you can get little bits of luck. You don't get luck week in and week out.
No.
No, and I'm not saying Liverpool get lucky, but they've had a lot of late goals.
Yes.
There's a difference between having late goals and being lucky.
Absolutely.
You can have a bit of luck getting late goals, but you don't get that much luck that you get late goals as often as Liverpool have been getting. And Manchester United in the day, the reason they're getting they're making their own luck by doing the right things right up to the end of the match, regardless of where the score is.
Yes.
There's no panic in it. They have a belief that they're going to do it, and they're going to keep doing the right things, which is difficult when you're one down in any situation. You get panicky, you start belting the ball forward. Liverpool haven't done that. The reason they've got the late goals is because we continue to do the right things, and that comes from the manager. It's called good management with good players, and that's the reason they're doing what they're doing, Eamon. Of course, there are situations where there is a little element of luck, but not as often as Liverpool are doing it.
Now, Liam, they've got so many players who can hurt you. Firmino was the one who got the winner on Saturday, but they've got Salah, they got Sané, they got Henderson, they got Fabinho, they got Robertson and Trent Alexander, 2 fullbacks. They really are, I think, the best team in Europe, and it's the quality that's seeing them through, isn't it?
Yeah, the enthusiasm that they all play for one another, the team spirit is there, and when you've got that and you've got talented players like the guys you mentioned, I mean, you're on a winner. Roy Keane said something the other week, I think, when they beat Manchester City. There was guys on talking with him, and I think Carragher might have been one of them saying, "Well, the pressure's on now," or it might have been Neville saying, "The pressure's on now. They haven't won in 30 years. They haven't won a Premiership, haven't won a league title." But Roy Keane said, "No, they'll be all delighted in that dressing room. They can't wait for the next match because they're so confident and they're so good." And that's why they keep getting late goals. They just keep going and going and going. He didn't play Salah at the weekend, I mean, he tested him,
saving him for Napoli.
Well, he's giving him a blow. He's giving him a rest, and he can do that. Oxlade-Chamberlain came in. He has a terrific squad of players, and he's been lucky so far with injuries that he hasn't. Like Manchester City have picked up serious injuries, haven't they? But Liverpool haven't. It's like, the saying they're lucky is ridiculous. It's like when Gary Player used to get up and down out of the bunker all the time. He used to say, the more I practice, the luckier I get, Yeah. And Liverpool are like that. They're full on team. And the fixtures they've got coming up, and they've got Brighton, they've got Everton at home. Everton are in a mess, aren't they?
Yes.
They've got Bournemouth away, they've got Watford at home. That should be another 12 points. I know John doesn't believe in that, but if you look at those games and where they're playing them, 3 of them are at home and Bournemouth away. Yeah, you'd have to say that's going to be another 12 points. So the pressure is going to be piled on the other teams just to stay with them. Yeah.
Now, lads, there's one team we really need to talk about in a big way, and it's Leicester. They're second in the table. And Brendan Rodgers has, I think, done a brilliant job there. He's improved the players who were there, and he's bought well as well. John, Jamie Vardy, top scorer in the Premier League. They beat Brighton 2-0 at Brighton on Saturday, and of course he scored and made a goal. He's done a great job, Rodgers, and they look a proper team, don't they?
Yeah, they're well organised, and they've got players in that can play. They're really good players, which is 90% of the job. I don't know who does the scouting for them, whether it's Rodgers himself, whether he knows, or what he's doing a very, very, very good job, that's for sure. And obviously, once he gets the good players in, then he's encouraged them to play, he gives them the freedom to play, well organised, and it's that's the reason why they are in the table. It's good management, good players, and that's the secret. If there's a secret for success, that's it.
Yeah.
Good players, well managed, and that's what he's done.
Yeah, they sold Harry Maguire for 70 or 80 million, Liam. They bought a fella called Soyuncu, who's a Turk. Very, very, very good player. Not far behind Harry Maguire, I would say. He's a central defender. But Vardy and Maddison, another player who's really confident. I don't know where he came from. But the football they play, the way they're organised, fearless. A fella called Ricardo playing right back, who's outstanding. So having, as you know again from your Arsenal experience, having the right scouts and getting the right people in the recruitment department is massive.
Yeah, and they've done it down through the years. I mean, you look at Mahrez, you've got the winner from Manchester City. He was a Leicester player. You look at Kante at Chelsea, he was a Leicester player.
Yes.
Harry Maguire, you mentioned. So they really have their scouting system second to none. And they've got even more talented players coming in, like you mentioned, the right back Ricardo.
Oh, he's very good. Yeah,
midfield player Tielemans.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really a good side, and Brendan Rodgers has them really organised and playing super football. And Vardy's on fire. He got another goal on Saturday. It was a pen, but he made the other goal as well for Perez. And Brighton have been playing well of late, so that was a good away win, a really good away win, and they are absolutely deserve where they are in the league. Yeah, and it's going to take a lot of. It's going to take a run from the likes of Tottenham or Manchester United if they want to get into that top four. I think Leicester are going to be a difficult team to dislodge from that top four. Eamon. Yeah, you've got Manchester City, you've got Chelsea, and you've got Liverpool, and you would think, if anyone's going to get in, it's at their expense. But I think it's going to be very, very difficult.
Okay, guys, just a final thought from both of you about tonight's Premier League game. It's Newcastle at Aston Villa. John, who's going to win? If anyone out there would like to have a bet, and you are, where's your money going?
And my money's not going anywhere. It's staying in my pocket, Eamon. But I'll give you my opinion on it. As you know, when we're doing our stuff, I need 20 minutes at least to have a look at it. But Newcastle have come back well, Eamon. I thought they'd go down and down and down. They haven't done so, and Villa have been very, very good as a newly promoted team. Yeah, it's home advantage. I think I would go with Villa.
Liam, the Oracle. I want to have a bet tonight, and so do some of our listeners.
Well, you go for the biggest odds, Eamon. You go for a draw.
Okay, I think that's the call.
Yeah, you go for a draw. There's very little between them in the league. As John said, Newcastle have come back well. They've got 15 points from 12 games. So they're doing okay. But Villa at home might swing it in their favour. Villa have lost the last 3, so they need to get cracking if they're going to stay up.
Okay, Liam Brady and John Giles, 2 great players, 2 great analysts, and we'll find out tonight if they're 2 great tipsters. Thanks very much, guys.